Terumah, Tavshin Gimel. My apologies for the late start tonight. We had a lot going on. Baruch Hashem, we had a wedding too, and we had to replace the camera crew tonight. But we made it and we're ready to go. The Medrash says in Shemois Rabbah, Lamed Gimel, the following. The Medrash says the following on the pasuk at the beginning of this week's parsha, on V'yikchu li Terumah. The pasuk says in Mishlei, Perek Dalet. The pasuk says, "Oma kilekach toiv nosati lochem," that Hakadosh Baruch Hu gave us a good commodity. Toirasi al ta'azoivu. We all know this pasuk. We say it when we put back the Sefer Torah, right? We say this pasuk. So the Medrash says on this pasuk in Mishlei, Omar Hakadosh Baruch Hu li Yisrael. Hakadosh Baruch Hu said to Klal Yisrael, Mocharti lochem toirasi. I sold to you, so to speak, the Torah. Kaviyochol nimkarti ima. He says, I sold you the Torah. Kaviyochol, it's as if HaKadosh Baruch Hu is saying that I was sold along with the Torah. Shenemar, the pasuk says, V'yikchu li terumah, Pirish, Zok the Medrash, V'yikchu li, v'yikchu oisi. And so to speak, that you will take me. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is saying, you will take me. So the Medrash continues with a mashal to explain what he means and why he's saying it on this pasuk in Parshas Terumah. The Medrash says that there was a king. And this king, right, with all the stories we say, they all seem to have a king in them. But this king had a single beloved daughter. His only child was one daughter. And what happens? The daughter of this king, this princess, grows up, and it comes time where she's going to get married. So from another kingdom, from another province, comes either another king or a prince, and he wants to marry his daughter. And after some time, I guess the shidduch is done, and they're engaged, and they're going to get married, this prince from another kingdom and his daughter. And obviously the king had a great concern, because what's going to happen now? His daughter's going to get married, she's going to leave. It's his only daughter, he loves her so much, the only thing he's ever had. And it's a problem for the king. So the king, the father of the daughter, the father of this girl, says the following. He says to the prospective groom, to the prince, he says, listen, this girl is my only daughter, and it's extremely hard for me to send her away. I can't part from my daughter. That's on one hand. But on the other hand, she is your wife. I know you got married to her. And I can't stop you from moving back to your kingdom with my daughter. So the king says, the father of the girl says, I have one request. And this is my request to you, because I can't stop you from leaving. I had to give my daughter away. Of course, I wanted my daughter to get married, and now she's going to go with you. But I have one request, says the king. That wherever you move to, and wherever you go, and wherever you make your palace now, and wherever my daughter becomes your wife, wherever that is, my request is that I want you to build a room for me in your house. Wherever you go, and wherever you might live, I want you to have a room for me there. This way I know that whenever the time comes and I'm able to travel and to visit you, I know that you want me there, that you have a place for me, and you built a place for me. Hashem says, Zok the Medrash, the same thing about the Torah. Ki lekach toiv nosati lochem. I had my Torah, I gave it away to you, I gave you the Torah. It was very difficult for me to part with it, says HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But you know what? I want you to have it. The same way as in our mashal with the king and the princess, I wanted you to have the Torah. But I'm asking you one thing. When you have this Torah, wherever you go with this Torah, wherever you go in your life, wherever you move to, build for me a room for Hashras HaShechina. Build a place, as long as you are with my Torah, as long as you took this Torah now to this earth, and Klal Yisrael took the Torah, build a place for me. build a place where there could be Hashras HaShechina. And that, Dr. Nesiva Shalom, that is the Asuli Mikdash in this week's Parsha. The Asuli Mikdash, make a place for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The Nesiva Shalom says, we know that all the mitzvahs in the Torah are not mitzvahs that were given only for a short period of time. The Pasuk says, V'asuli Mikdash, Zok the Nesiva Shalom, that the Asuli Mikdash is no different than any other mitzvah. It's for eternity. It's for always. It's for right now. It's not for only the time that Klal Yisrael was in the Midbar, when there was a Beis HaMikdash. It goes for now too. We darshan, we know with Pasuk says, V'asuli Mikdash v'shachanti v'soicham. And we darshan, v'soich kol echad v'echad. Every person has to make a place for a mikdash. For each person, from what we just said right now, what we just learned, you cannot have the Torah, you cannot maintain the Torah without the Veikus B'Hashem. You have to have a place for Hashras HaShechina. Therefore, the Nesiva Shalom says a very, very interesting piece of advice. He says, every person, each person, he says, should choose one thing in your life where in that thing you're always, no matter what happens, you're going to be Davuk B'Hashem with that thing. And it has to be an ikar, a very important thing in your life, where you become, like we say, a chassid l'dovar echad, where one thing, you're fanatic about it. In other words, this is the way I connect to Hashem, and no matter what comes my way, and no matter what happens in my life, I'm going to connect to Hashem with this. I'm going to be Davuk B'Hashem. And where you keep your connection to Hashem no matter what with this thing. It's, so to speak, a place where you can always run to reconnect to Hashem. Something happens in your life that you fall, you stumble, you're not in the best of circumstances in your ruchniistic life, but you have your one thing where you could reconnect your radar, where you're going to go back, your path, back to Hashem. And that goes into the mitzvah, the Nesiva Shalom says, that is our mitzvah today, with the Asuli Mikdash. Make for HaKadosh Baruch Hu a place where you, as every individual person, could be Davuk B'Hashem. Prepare for yourself a place for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And this place, for Asuli Mikdash, the only way to make this place, says in the Nesiva Shalom, is through Kedusha. Like the Psukim say, we know the Psukim say in the Torah, V'atem tiyu li mamleches koyanim v'goy kadosh, kedoshim tiyu, v'anshe kodesh tiyu li. Everything, the way to connect, the way to get to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you have to pick a thing, but it has to be Kedusha. Kedusha is what brings you close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Just like we know, Chas v'Shalom, the opposite is true also. The Pasuk says, V'layir b'cha ervas davar, v'shov me'acharecha. That if you don't have Kedusha, and there's an ervas davar, a person doesn't have Kedusha, he has the opposite of Kedusha, Chas v'Shalom. When there's a lack of Kedusha, there's an ervas davar, it causes the Shechina to leave. An unbelievable, important statement, the Nesiva Shalom says. So when a Yid maintains Kedusha, he becomes Roy for Hashras HaShechina, and he is being Mekayim this pasuk of the Asu Li Mikdash. Listen to this beautiful Medrash Tanchuma now that the Nesiva Shalom brings down. Medrash Tanchuma, Parshas Nosai. He says like this, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted to have a dira b'tachtonim. HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted to have a dwelling place down here on this world. But he wanted his dwelling place on this world to be on par with the dira b'elyonim, with the dwelling place, Kaviyachal, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has up there. He wanted this one to be the same. Just like the dira be'elyonim, it illuminates everything. HaKadosh Baruch Hu's place in Shamayim illuminates all of whatever is going on above. So too HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted that the dira b'tachtonim, what he has on this earth, it should illuminate everything else around it. The Gemara in Kedushin Daf Zayin Amud Beis says something very interesting. Ha'omer ragla shel zu oila. If a person looks at a behema and he says the leg of this behema ragla shel zu oila should be for a carbon oila, what does the Gemara say? Kula oila. The whole behema gets a kedusha as a carbon oila. The pashta kedusha bikula. Because if a person is makdish, the leg of this behema, the Gemara says, it spreads throughout the whole behema, and the whole behema becomes kadosh. Even though there is another man diyamar there, the other man diyamar says ein kula oila, that the whole thing does not become an oila. But that is only where you're mekadesh an aver she'ein haneshama tuluya b'ay. If you're mekadesh an aver, that's not a vital organ of the behemoth that man diyamar holds, then it doesn't spread throughout the whole behemoth. However, if you're mekadesh any one of the organs of the behemoth that is a davar shaneshama tuluya b'ay, then no matter what, it spreads throughout the whole behemoth. The entire behemoth becomes kadosh. And that's the point also that we're making over here. That kedusha, once kedusha is planted and it takes hold, it has the capacity and it has the power to spread throughout the whole thing. Just like HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants the Kedusha to spread in the Olamas, like we said, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Kedusha is totally spread in the Olamas El Yoinim. And when we made the Asuli Mikdash, HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants it to spread throughout the person, just like we brought from the Gemara, that Kedusha is nispashed in the entire Behemoth. But so too, HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants us, and this is the lesson that we learn for each and every person. Every person, each human being, is a world to himself. Each human being is an entire world. And sometimes people don't look at themselves. Everybody looks at themselves just another cog in the wheel, just something that the people they know. You go outside and you see millions of people walking around. To HaKadosh Baruch Hu, every person is vital. Every person is chashuv. Every person is a world of his own. And the way to have Kedusha for yourself, to spread Kedusha, is v'asuli mikdash. You have to establish in your life that nekuda of Kedusha. That's your responsibility, and then it will spread. Like we said, you have to be a chassid ledovar echad. You have to start with something. You have to do something that brings Kedusha into your life. But you know what? The Tzvi Shalom says something very interesting. You have to start with something. You cannot start with everything. Sometimes the person says, oh, I haven't been so good, I've been doing this. That's it for now, I'm going to become a fanatic tomorrow. Everything's going to change. You know how well that works. It doesn't work. A person has to start. Pick one thing. Plant something in your life. Another learning seder. Improve your midas a little bit. Improve what you look at. Improve how you walk. Improve what you do. Improve where you go. Pick on one thing. One thing of Kedusha. But that one thing that you have to pick, Zok Nesiv Shalom, has to be a davar sheba Kedusha. And what kind of davar sheba Kedusha? He says an interesting play on these words. It has to be a davar sheba Kedusha. It has to be a davar shaneshama tuluya b'ay. Don't say, oh, I'm going to change, I'm going to be something. You pick a very easy thing. No, it has to be a davar shaneshama tuluya b'ay. It has to be something that you really have a taiva for. You have to break a taiva. Kedusha means that there's something that you really want. And you're going to be over, and you were over it maybe many times in your life. But that's where you have to start. You have to start planting the Kedusha in something which you have a taiva for, which is something which is davar shaneshama tuluya b'ay. It's part of you, and you really, really find that you can't continue your life without that. That's the thing that you have to start with. If you change and keep that, if you do that, then the Kedusha will spread. And that's the lesson of this week's Parsha. But Asuli Mikdash is not some sort of ancient history, something that was told to the Yid in the Midbar, make for me a Mikdash. No, the Torah is alive. The Torah is speaking to every one of us today. The Torah speaks to every single person. The Asuli Mikdash. You have the opportunity, you have the chance, and you have the capacity to build an entire world of Kedusha for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But you have to start somewhere. You have to start in the thing that you know. Every person knows himself what he has to improve. Every person knows himself what he has to do. And that's what we're going to take out of this week's Parasha. Asuli Mikdash. Know how important you are, and know that everything that you do counts, but you have to start. And if you're going to start, you have to start right now. You have to start today.